everyone, I'm Anya Esma, and today I want to talk about why I don't read and how I want to fix that. I say that I want to fix it simply because for me, I would like to spend more time reading. If you're fine with the amount of time you're reading, I am in no way implying that it is good for everybody to read as much as they can, just to make that clear. This is only if you feel like there's a mismatch between the amount of time that you are reading and the amount of time you would like to be reading. As with many of my videos, the solution to the issue that I want to speak about is going to be kind of a mix between shifting my mindset about reading and implementing fixed rules that will help me actually stick with my reading program. It turned out that during my depth year, reading was my biggest issue, actually reading the books that I told myself I would read. This video is inspired by Kellyanne Maddox's video about reader's block, in which she talks about how she battles her own reader's block and how she kind of mended her relationship with reading and let go of the reader that she really wanted to be and that she used to be and just accepted what she is now. In this video, I'm going to talk specifically about my own issues with reading. I might be a little bit general at times as well, as I always like to generalize things so that you can take some merit from this. And I will basically have two sections. In the first half of the video, I will just be talking about why I am not reading. Maybe you can identify some of the same issues, maybe you have other issues with it. And then in the second half, I want to talk about what I am personally planning on doing and am already doing in order to mend my relationship with reading and read more to the point where I reach a level of reading time that I feel comfortable with and I feel happy and satisfied with. I will report back in 3 months and we will see whether I was actually able to implement all of my solutions and whether they were helpful. I know that simply scheduling time to read and scrolling less on my phone is not going to make me read. I've tried scheduling time, I've tried all of the simple methods, so I think it requires a little more of a mindset shift and more work from me than I thought it would. So that is what this video is kind of doing. I'm trying to hold myself accountable for tackling my relationship with reading. So why am I not reading as much as I would like to? While there are many various reasons, I can definitely tell you that it is not that I don't have the time. I agree with Arnold Schwarzenegger on this. We have time. If we tell ourselves that we don't have time, that is a lie, that is an excuse. That is how I personally see it. Now, I know that there are people, if you have children, if you have a very demanding job, if you are going through a very hard personal time, then I think it is fair to say that you don't have the mind space to read, you don't have the right mindset to really get into a book. But oftentimes we kind of default to, I don't have time for this or that, even though it is a matter of priorities and it is a matter of what mindset we are in. And kind of using time as an excuse, I think, isn't helpful in that. If I want to be honest with myself, I can say that yes, maybe I am going through some personal issues and that is why I'm not in the right mindset to read. And that is okay, But right now I feel like I have the potential to be in the mindset, but there's something clumping up in the back of my mind that is keeping me from reading as much as I'd like to. So I want to work on that and be honest about it because I do have the time. I just don't take enough space and enough time for reading. I actively do not do it. Not because this is a circumstance that is put upon me, but because I have not decided to really dedicate to it, which we are going to change with this video, hopefully. The first issue I have is that I panic about not retaining enough information. I mostly read non-fiction books, mostly witchcraft books or something relating to magic, which means that they are very often quite intense reads. Even just reading one page can take forever because there's all of these cross-references, that I'm trying to understand. And, it's kind of like reading a philosophical text. It's not like you can read 1 minute a page if you read something like Descartes. You have to take a lot of time for it. Each page has so much juicy information in it that it's going to take a while. And since I mostly read nonfiction, I really have to let go of pressuring myself so much for how fast I have to read it. Plus, you have all of these correspondence lists, like correspondences between planets and tarot cards, or spell ingredient lists. And all of these are kind of listy in nature, and really retaining them is going to be incredibly hard without it being an explanatory text. You just have a list of things and you try to retain it. It's not going to work very well unless you really sit down and study it. And that is one of the issues that I have. I just feel like I don't retain enough. So I start to take notes way too often, way too much, and maybe not even look at the notes again after, but I feel like I have to hold on to everything and I can't let go of simply going with the flow. I will get to the solution to that issue later, keep that in mind, but for now I'm just going through the issues themselves. The second one, and I've actually mentioned this in my last depth year video, is what I call inspiration overdrive, where my fiery and passionate nature sometimes latches onto things a little too tightly, and I think I have to go all the way right away. I can't just say, okay, I'll look at that later. That piece of information, that practice, I'll do it later. I have to do it right away. So even if it is midnight or 11 at night and I should be going to bed because I have to work the next day, I will still engage with it and I will become too inspired and too lit up to actually go to bed. And that is why I have a certain fear of that. I have a fear of that commitment to reading because I know potentially it will take me a few hours to work through all of that stuff. And it is a commitment, really, it is. And you know how my generation reacts to commitment. Millennials, terrible people. Anyways, the third issue isn't as much of an issue for me, but I do have a Kindle, which means I have infinite access to a lot of books, to PDFs of, free text, or to normal ebooks that I can get. And there's just this infinite backlog that I have created on my Kindle where I sort of feel like I don't even know anymore which books I really wanted to read and which ones I just kind of downloaded and took in order to have them on my Kindle and have the potential to read them. And then I don't know which ones I actually want to read and which ones are just dumped into a digital corner on my Kindle. This isn't as big of an issue as I said because most of the time I focus on my physical books and my physical book pile that I want to read. But still in the back of my mind somewhere it weighs me down that I still have books on my Kindle that I could also read. The fourth thing is outside influences and everything that has to do with my ego. I used to read as a child, but when we started reading books in school and when I went to university and got my degree in literary studies, it became a lot more controlled by other people, what I was reading. I barely chose what I could read on my own simply because, especially in university, you have to do so much reading that after that you kind of just want to do your own thing, and reading becomes this chore. Not necessarily a chore because obviously I'm studying and taking courses that I'm interested in, so I'm engaged with the text and I'm happy that I'm reading them. But at the end of the day, if you've read for 2 or 3 hours, you're not going to go home and then read your book. At least that is what I never quite got to. I always just read for university, which means I didn't choose what I read. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't helpful in determining what kinds of books I actually enjoy reading. So slowly I feel like all of my sense of personal taste got lost a little bit within university and school environments. Okay, so let us talk about the solutions that I came up with and the mindset shifts that I'm planning on making in order to heal my relationship with reading and read as much as I would like to read. I hope that some of these solutions also appeal to you. Maybe they will help you. That would make me very happy. And I'd love to hear about your issues in the comments, by the way, because I feel like there are so many. So the first issue that I was talking about, not being able to retain all of the information and kind of feeling like I have to be ever present and soak up every detail, otherwise it wasn't worth my time to read. One of the ways I want to fix that is by reading fiction and nonfiction side by side, because fiction is a lot easier to read. It's quicker, you don't have to retain as much information, it's a lot more emotional, so it's easier to grasp for the mind, and it kind of gives you that satisfied reading feeling, whereas nonfiction can be a lot more complicated. At the same time, though, I have to say that going to university and studying literature has also given me kind of an unhealthy mindset with regards to fiction, because I now try to, find all of the metaphors, analyze the plot, see all of the different turning points, and analyze all the characters, and that can be positive, but it can also block me. So I kind of want to let go of that mindset and just read fiction for fun and be very conscious about how I engage with a book. Do I do it for fun, or do I do it to really take notes and to draw something personal from it? Or am I just kind of reading it in a chilled out manner? And I know that if I just trust that I will see the right things and I trust my intuition, I will still be able to remember the most important parts for my psyche that my unconscious wants me to pay attention to and that I want to learn about, So I think trusting in that intuition is a lot more important. For example, I was reading The Black Arts, and in that, there's so much information, some of it very doubtful and very suspicious and strange. But there was one part that I really wanted to remember. And as I was reading it, I was already like, I can't forget this. I need to remember it. And in the end, I still remember it now. It was about how Kabbalistic occultists use astral travel in order to kind of move up the tree of life, in the Kabbalah, and use symbols in order to navigate their way while they are astral traveling. So for example, if they want to move to a certain sphere that is assigned a planet, then if they see a symbol that pertains to a different planet, they know that they are on the wrong pathway and they would astral travel somewhere else. And I found that concept very interesting, that they navigated the astral plane by using symbols. And I still remember that now, even though I was so afraid of forgetting it. So kind of trusting that and trusting that I will remember what is important to me and what I want to speak about is great. Self-trust. The second thing that I can do, and this has worked great in the past, is using the book reviews that I upload on my channel as an incentive. So for example, if I get a new book and I say I want to upload a video about this within the next 2 weeks, then I will read that book within those 2 weeks because I really want to upload that review. And I think that can be super helpful, because that is what I did with Harmony Nice's book, because I really wanted to put out that review very fast and very efficiently. And I read that book, which admittedly was a quite easy and fast read, within 1 or 2 weeks, which is quite fast for how fast I read nonfiction books usually. Plus, it makes the notes that I take during those sessions a lot more meaningful, because now I can use them in a video instead of them just wasting away in my notebook, which happens a lot. I just scribble away while reading and then I never read the notes again. And I just think that it's a very good way to be more conscious. You know, if I know that I have to produce content pertaining to this book, I will be more conscious reading it, and I will trust myself more because it suddenly becomes more outside influenced. It's kind of like reading for school or university. There's an outside incentive which does help me. Sadly, I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I could just read it for myself. But in a lot of ways, I need to talk about the book. I want to talk about the book after I'm done. I also want to establish a reward system. This has worked very well for me in the past as far as reading goes, but I often forget about it, which means if I do find myself with some downtime in the evening, I will sometimes default to watching YouTube videos or playing video games. But what I want to do is either tell myself to read X pages or read for X minutes, and then I can play, and then I can watch a YouTube video. And usually I will just keep reading. You know how it is. You just need the initial spark, and then it goes from there. But I think the reward system is definitely very helpful when it comes to motivating yourself to read. You're kind of self-parenting yourself and disciplining yourself into actually reading. And it's basically a way to hold yourself accountable. This also includes forcing myself to read instead of journaling or instead of going on social media. Because journaling, while it is a great spiritual practice, I know that I also use it as an avoidance mechanism. If I don't want to do a certain thing, I will start journaling instead. And I'll be like, there's nothing wrong with journaling. Journaling is the best thing you can do for your mind. And I will journal away about my hangups, about my shadows, about what happened during the day even. And, you know, it kind of distracts me from what I should be doing or what I want to do, which might be reading a book. Now, the biggest mindset shift, I think, will be the struggle about the ego. I want to be eloquent, I want to be well-read, I want to seem intelligent, and reading is a very big part of that. And Kellyanne talked about this as well. People just sort of assume that you read a lot. And it's not like I never read. You know, I do read books, obviously, but not as much as I would like. And that dissatisfaction is what I'm trying to work on. So thinking about what makes me personally feel good about reading is going to be one of my tasks, because I need to find out, without outside influences, what is it that actually makes me want to read a book? And I think it sounds like a simple question, but with how much we go through with school and university and parents telling you what to read, it can be hard to connect to why you read, what you want to read, and sort of getting a grasp on what your stance on reading and on books is, you know? And I think that will help me with my ego as well, that ego that wants to be, you know, smart and educated and well-read, which I like to say that about myself or think that about myself. But right now there's a mismatch between that idea and how much I actually read on a daily basis or in a week. So yes, that will be one of the tasks that I give myself. Journal about why I want to read. And of course, so I actually do read, my task is to read 15 minutes a day, at least as a start. I will probably end up reading more, but the 15 minutes I have to do. If I don't, I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but it's sort of, you know, besides all of the healing I'm doing or all of the transformational alchemy stuff that I'm doing in order to change my mindset, I also need one fixed rule that will keep me going. Even if maybe I'm slacking on other parts of the journey, I want to keep the 15-minute rule. And also, this is something that has helped me tremendously, so I want to mention it, is to reduce my phone time, which means I don't take my phone in the bedroom and I turn it off at night, which means the first thought that I wake up with isn't, let's check my phone. Let's see if somebody wrote something. Let's see what people are thinking. You know, that is kind of the first impulse. And I cannot really get rid of that impulse, at least not quickly. And not taking my phone in the bedroom is not going to make me stop thinking about it. It's not going to make me stop going to my phone first thing in the morning after I get up, which is problematic. So I turn it off so that the threshold of activating the phone and looking at it is higher. And that has helped me a lot. And while it is hard in the beginning, it definitely gives my mind some space and some time to really have thoughts, which oftentimes in the mornings is the most important time to have thoughts, to think about what you want to do with your day or what you have to do during a given day. So that is definitely something that I'm already doing, and I think it kind of pertains to this, so I wanted to mention it. And it's going to help me. Putting away my phone very actively and focusing on a book is going to be helpful. As you can see, I definitely don't have all of the answers, which I usually try to do for my videos because I'm an Aries and because I like having all the answers, and that's just sort of an Aries thing. So I feel like I want to be more honest about this because I don't have it all figured out, and I want you to be a part of the process of me figuring it out. I felt bad about this for a very long time, and you know, when other people think you read a lot but you actually don't, or you don't according to your own standards, let's put it like that, it's very difficult. It makes you afraid of other people's opinions, especially in certain communities that have a lot to do with reading. But in all honesty, not reading is an issue like any other. I'm sure there's people who read too much, who use reading as a way of avoiding what they should actually be doing. But in my mind, I always idealize reading a lot. You know, I think people who read a lot are good, people who don't read a lot are bad, even though there are so many nuances. You know, as I said, some people use reading as an avoidance mechanism, or they read too fast without retaining anything. If you read 365 books in a year, then I don't know. For me, quality is more important than quantity. So I'm definitely trying not to get pressured by those people who read like 300 books. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but for me, I think I want to engage with books more than that time frame allows you to. And especially if they are reading fiction, of course, they will be reading faster than me. So seeing all of these little differences and nuances helps me not compare myself to people too much and think that I am the slowest reader or the worst reader, you know, all of the fun things that our minds sometimes tell us, even though they aren't true. I really would like to hear how your status with reading is. I know a lot of people have a great relationship with it. Some people, as I said, may have an unhealthy relationship, as in they read too little for what they think they should be reading, or they read too much and kind of prioritize reading over actually going after their dreams maybe, or being actively creative or writing themselves. Especially if you're a writer, reading instead of writing can be a good way to kind of circumvent your mind, where you just tell yourself like, oh, I'm reading. That's kind of like writing, so it's okay that I'm not writing. But, you know, that can have kind of an unhealthy tint to it as well. Either way, I'm happy that you were here and accompanied me. I will upload a video about this in about 3 months' time, I think, so I can see how my methods worked. And I will be doing a giveaway next week. That is my plan. Thank you for everybody who voted already what you want to be the giveaway reward. You can go to the community tab on my profile if you want to vote, and I will keep looking at it and keep seeing what you guys are actually most interested in. I'm also going to link my video about the fear of not having enough time below, because I feel like that kind of pertains to this topic. And yes, if you want to dwell in my domain a little longer, I'd be very happy if you subscribed. I also have an Instagram account, simply @anya.esma, where I make blog-esque posts sometimes and talk about things, life, you know how it is, magic. And yeah, I'd be happy if you join me there and anywhere else. And I love you all a lot. I wish you the greatest of days, the greatest of weeks, and many, many great books that you can read in the next time frame. Whatever that time frame is for you, no pressure.